Hello, and welcome back to the Audible Waters podcast. I'm your host, Ralph Jesperson. In this week's video, I am finishing up the series of dreams I've had that warned me that shortly something very bad was about to happen in this world of ours. This is the last of the series of world events that have so far come to pass that I have warned about in advance. I have others that I have seen that have not yet come to pass, and maybe I will start sharing those with you next week. Here is a link to the whole series of videos I have made that have some kind of supernatural element to them, and the rest of this particular series that are in this playlist. You may find something else there that interests you as well. But in mid-January of 2022, I had dreams on consecutive nights warning me that something else was coming to pay attention to. So now I share these two again and let you decide if God was warning me in advance about now a third major world event coming upon the world. This next section I have has not changed and is exactly as I wrote it out over 3 years ago now. So, on January 17th, I had what might be the first significant dream of that year, close to the anniversary of the dream that I had on January 15th, 2021. It did not appear instantly significant then, but the follow-up dream makes me think that it very well could be. The best way to describe the dream would be to imagine yourself up on a mountainside, high up enough to get a good panorama of the valley below it. While you are gazing out, you notice a disaster happening below at some distance off. You see the crash of something, and then you see the first responders showing up, though you are too far away to hear the sirens. So you watch what is happening from this viewpoint as your interest is piqued. But before the first responders can make much progress with disaster number one, now you see a plane flying in distress over disaster number one. Its engines are smoking and it is losing altitude fast. You watch it crash in the same valley not all that far away from the first disaster. The two crashes appear to have nothing at all to do with each other, but it is odd how close these two are in proximity to each other. So you wake up from the dream wondering what the first responders will now do, seeing as they must all be at Site 1, which is a huge disaster on its own, and there's likely no one left to go over to Site number 2, which is also a huge disaster. This is a basic summary of my dream. Those who are paid to respond and to clean up a disaster get overwhelmed by not one, but two different disasters. Throughout my day yesterday, I did not think too much about this dream until the end of the day. As I was lying down to go to sleep, I often will review the events of the day. This soon led me to how the day started as I remembered this first dream. As I reflected on it, I soon found myself praying and asking God if He was trying to show me something. Is there coming very soon a crash of sorts that will occur near the pandemic we are now having, but not really be the same thing? So, not really related to that. Then I had this morning's dream. So, on the morning of January 18th, I had a dream where I was hanging out down by a river where a lot of college kids liked hanging out. An older man walked up to me and said that this was his land and he wanted to show me the dam he had built on the river. He explains to me that he had it built in the early 70s, and so we walk together down into the former floodplain of this river, which was now a recreation area. There were many young people down there hanging out in what was now a park. As we approached the dam, many other people recognized the old man, and soon there was a large crowd of us walking towards the dam this man had built. As we drew close, I looked up at it, and we were next to the river that was flowing, controlled out of its spillways. Near the top of this dam, I saw water leaking out, not in one place, but from many places, from the left end all the way over to the right. The whole dam was nearing failure, so I called out the alarm and immediately started running back up the road, heading for higher ground. The old man in the crowd saw what I saw, but did not react so immediately. The dream ended as I was about three-quarters of the way to safety and was running, looking back behind me. The crowd was only about one quarter of the way out, but was now running as fast as I was. Then I woke up before the collapse happened. The notice I sent out included some speculation as to what these might mean, as that was not clear back at that time. But looking back, if God was truly speaking to me, it was about the end of the peace in Europe. That was certainly a major new problem, and one that started even before the world thought it was finally getting over the pandemic. That started during the pandemic, but it was not really about the pandemic. In Europe, this new war caused a great deal of difficulty before they were done with the pandemic. So all of a sudden, two big problems at once, as these countries could no longer just focus all of their efforts and resources at the first major disaster. So, could the old man who built the dam be Richard Nixon, who started detente in the early 70s? This led to increased signs of peace in Europe that has continued for quite a long time. Could the dam represent peace in Europe that was cracking and showing signs of failing on the days I had those dreams? A peace that did collapse, resulting in many women with young children fleeing Ukraine and ending up as refugees in surrounding countries. And the fact there were so many young adults in the dream may point to the reality that in wars past, it is the young men who tend to face the most danger, as they were trying to get off the dam before its failure killed them. Now, these two dreams were not as specific as the prior two I talked about in the last two videos. That might make you wonder, but I do have a possible logical explanation for that. The prior 2 weeks were about events that hit the United States hard where I live. The war in Europe, comparatively, has had much less effect on the US. But for those watching in Europe, this war has had at least as much negative impact for you as the pandemic did. There has been a massive refugee problem. There has been energy disruptions that has caused prices to skyrocket and some businesses to become suddenly not competitive any longer. there has been some real shaking in the local politics of these countries. There has been a great increase in defense spending and changes to how they plan to staff their armies going forward. There have been many events of Russian sabotage and hybrid warfare events in those countries. Threats have been multiplied. So this has had major negative effects outside the war zone itself, but it has been localized to only this part of the world, whereas the other two were absolutely worldwide events. I did pray to God that night after having the first and asking for clarification on it. So maybe He answered that prayer. But I will let you be the judge of whether or not God spoke to me during these two dreams. Thanks to anyone still listening. I realize that there might very well not be anyone, as this series of dreams has not been particularly well watched. That, I suspect, is because people who believe in this kind of thing tend to believe that God only speaks through the celebrities. To believe that is to be ignorant of God's choices all throughout our Bible. You think any Jew wanted to listen to Matthew, who conspired with the enemy occupiers while he preached about Jesus? But perhaps Jesus chose me because he really does not want anyone else to know. That is up to you to decide. So, God bless until next time.